I'm Judy Green and welcome back to NatChat. So Peter, before the break we were talking about your book, A God Named Joe. Now the thought when you were writing it, I know it's almost a miracle to get a book finished and published, let alone have it eventually be made into a film, but is that as a writer always in the back of your mind?
Well, yeah, I mean it always is there that, yeah, well, you know, if the book can get out there and people can see it, and maybe if it has some sort of success, yeah, then that can be another route into maybe someone will want to adapt into a film, yeah.
So how did you publish this book?
Oh, A God Named Joe was published through an independent publisher in the UK. You know, and the whole process was quite quick, actually.
What do you mean quite quick?
Well, you know, I mean, it took about 6 months to write it and polish it and so forth, and I probably had Quint's Books interested within 4 months afterwards. So, you know, it was, compared to how long it takes to slog around and get the script written and made and everything, you know, it was quite good that happened so far.
A bit like painting, yeah, when you get such a quick result like that. So, and how did you find that particular publisher, online or through contacts?
Yeah,
or?
you just. There's plenty of websites. There's a thing like firstwriter.com, which has publishers from all around the world. And it's just a question of doing your research, and that's the good thing about the internet, you know, because companies can't hide now. Because there's a lot of sites where writers will put up their experiences with various publishing companies, and so you can find out everything about that publishing company, how they act to writers, whether they you know, going to do shifties on them, whatever. So I mean,
what sort of shifties?
Well, you know, I mean, you know, you got to be careful because there are a lot of they'll say they'll maybe want some money to help you to, you know, for photocopy and stuff, and any sort of publisher that, you know, sort of wants money for you to publish a book, you should be very wary of, because you know that it's usually, you know, just really looking to.
And how do you actually control how many are printed? Like, can they make their ones out the back room as well for themselves, or do they not do that? How is that sort of monitored?
Well, I mean, A God Named Joe went the traditional route. It was, you know, a print run of 5,000 copies. That was then, you know, set about putting into bookstores and that. Whereas the second book...
now, just before we get on to the second book, was that released in Australia as well?
No, God Named Joe was basically in the UK, but
so
you can still buy it online and so forth.
So you can buy it online. So why do you think it wasn't released here? A bit like the movies, they go overseas first, and if they like it, they come back.
Yeah, it's getting the distributors, you know. I mean, the publishing industry is not an easy thing either, even when you get a book published, because although there are a number of publishing companies, most of them are owned only by about 3 media companies, own all the subsidiaries of all the publishing companies. So it's very hard to get books onto shelves into bookstores and so forth, you know, because even the bookstores will demand the big publishers pay them money to put their books on the shelves and that. So if you're an independent publisher, you're really up against it, because you just don't have the money to spend to get it into the store. So you really got to, you know, try alternative routes for it.
So as far as fiction and non-fiction, for the viewers that don't know, what is the difference between the two?
Well, fiction is basically, you know, something that's made up. It's not real. Non-fiction is generally a real story, an autobiography, or, you know, based on a real event.
Right. So your second book, Gods of War, how was that born?
Well, same process as Joe, you know, as an idea that I had around and crystallised, and so I sat down and wrote it, and that was, you know, to be the second book. And again, that was published through another UK publisher, a smaller independent publisher. But whereas Joe was, when the traditional publishing route, the Gods of War went a publish on demand route, which basically the book still goes through the same process, still goes through the editing process. The whole process is you can get for publishing a traditional book, but it then gets basically advertised online through Amazon.com or through bookshops. You know, they can order in on their computers, and when someone wants the book, it basically gets printed and published and sent to them like that. So it's just, and that's happening more and more today, and it's definitely opened up the field for, you know, people to get their books out there.
But so how would I, like, in which section do you advertise them? So if you wanted to order one of these books online, I mean, how would you even know what these books are about?
Well, I mean, again, that of course gets down to promotion. I mean, when you put a book up on Amazon or, you know, on the publisher's website, it has all the information of what the book's about. You know, so I mean.
But you just look up books, you know what I mean? I love the covers. You know, I don't even know how you decide on the cover of a book. How does that come about?
Well, I mean, image is everything, because it's, even though the book may not be on a shelf, you still got to have a good cover image on a website that sticks out. You know, so really, it's just coming up with you know, something that's eye-grabbing and related to the story.
So in both of them, God and gods, that gives some sort of spiritual or religious connotation. So when I don't know if they are either one of those, spiritual or religious, but how did you come about the names?
Well, I mean, they're just names that suit the story. I mean,
You're not going to tell us the story. You have to find them.
You know, I mean, a god named Joe is what the story's about. You know, it's about a god named Joe, and the gods of war is, you know, you know, I mean, titles, you know, can always be hard to come up with. You know, you can get a good title, you can not. You know, a lot of titles have been taken too. You know, so you know, but no, they're just, you know. I mean, a god named Joe took me ages to come up with that title. I had so many different titles for that book until I finally hit upon this, and everyone said, "Yeah, that's right." You know? Okay,
so now you have 2 books published. I'm sure there'll be many more. So you're working on a project right now?
Yeah, we're working on a couple of books at the moment.
I think I know about one of them.
Yes, you probably do. You probably know all about it.
And I know that one of the next ones, who that's going to be too.
Yes, I'm sure you do. You know, so, but no, I'm really happy with what we're working on now. And it's a non-fiction book, so it's something different, where the books that I've written in the past have been fiction novels. So yes, I'm really looking forward to it.
So have you decided how this next book will be released? Which out of both ways, which do you find the most?
Well, I think the way the second book, The Gods of War, was published is probably, you know, the best way to do it, I think, at the moment. I mean, it just makes it so much easier for people to get their own books out there, because you can do the process yourself. I mean, there are a number of companies that will do the printing up for you and everything.
Okay.
And there's a lot of publishers, traditional publishers, that are doing it as well now. So I mean, it's just easier, I think, all around, and also financially it's easier, because, you know, to do a first run print of 5,000 books.
Okay, you can see me smiling at you. I have to wind you up because it's the end of the show. Can you believe it? So I'm going to have you back on because I want to know about the next book and probably the next whatever. You're going to be writing lots and lots more for film as well. You've been watching NatChat. I'm Judy Green, and you've been listening to our interview with Peter So if you'd like to watch this show or any other show, please check us out online. And ciao. I'll see you again soon.